future.
I'm 27 years old. I've no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden to my parents. And I'm frightened.
Hello, what's up everyone? How are you guys? I do have classical music. I figured classical music pairs well with classical novels and classical literature. So I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier, but why not? How are you guys? How's everyone? How's life? What's going on? What's new? What's exciting? I was thinking today, after I published that video, you guys probably all know, whenever I finish a live read, I make a bunch of videos on it, and then I rethink those videos, but sometimes I don't necessarily redo the videos. But the last video that I published, which was this morning, which was Lizzie's Jilted. I think that wasn't necessarily her being jilted. I think she was just trying to laugh it off. I think that's all comedy. Sometimes I forget that there's so much in this novel that's just comedy and that it's not so serious. Whoa, wait, you're about to board the Hogwarts Express? Aren't you a few months early? What? What are you about to do? You're about to go on the Hogwarts Express? Can we come with you? You have to unload a freezer. Why? That doesn't sound fun. Have I had time to process and recover? No. I can't get that song or get those, especially those two, but all three of those last chapters out of my head. They were such excellent chapters. Such excellent boiled potatoes were those chapters. Man, yeah, those were great chapters. I just have not been able to stop thinking about them. And just the psychology of them. Oh, it's so good. I don't know if there's any other moment in this book that's going to be able to top that. Maybe you guys are going to all, say that I'm stupid and there's tons of moments that are as good as that. But that was just an elite moment in that book. Yeah, they left a mark for sure. You need a jig so you can dance while you wait. It's cold this morning in Albuquerque. Albuquerque, man. I'm just cold hearing about Albuquerque. It's cold here too, and I'm not even in Albuquerque. It's like 20 Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. Like negative 3, -4, maybe? Maybe less, maybe -2. Sweltering in Togo. Because it's summer there right now, right? There's a few things to look forward to. Excellent. Good. Yeah, Trig. Who cares about housework when you can come hang out and do some live reads of Pride and Prejudice? Or just get like get a little earbud, put a little headphones on, just go do some housework while you listen. 57 degrees sounds so nice right now. South Dakota. For some reason, I would love to live in South Dakota or in North Dakota or Montana. Give me any of those. I don't love the cold that much, so that's, not great, but something about those states just is so appealing to me. Had to chip off a solid layer of ice. Ugh. Yeah, it's cold. I feel like it's cold everywhere except for, Wyoming is probably top on my list. I want to live in, yeah, I would love to live in Wyoming. It's so beautiful out there. Wyoming is one of my favorite states. I've been there. I've been to Yellowstone a few times. Been to the Tetons a few times. It is just so exceptionally beautiful. You're in the eastern side. Bummer. That's a bummer. That's all right, though. Still kind of cool. -29. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy. -20 Fahrenheit. That is brutal. YouTube apps keeps crashing today. Bummer. That's weird. Hey, it's all right. Hey, we could delay cleaning a kitchen for Pride and Prejudice. It's worth it. It's worth it. Chapter 37. Oh, I gotta check out how long these are. 37, 38's short. 39 is kind of long. 40 is kind of short. It's about 20 pages today. We kind of just do it in batches of 20 pages, which is kind of working. There's a potential we might go to 41, but we'll see. We'll read through 40 and see how we feel. I feel like there's just natural like stop points in the novel sometimes. I'm just still so curious how Elizabeth and Darcy are going to actually end up together, because I feel like they're never going to see each other again. So how is this going to happen? I know they're probably I think Elizabeth's going to meet him up north, but it doesn't make sense if they're in the lake country. Does Darcy own another house up north or something? I don't know. But my hands are so cold. I should need some hand warmers. Got my blanket on, got my sweatshirt on. It's actually colder because there are no clouds to hold in the warmth from all the snow you just got. Gosh. Bright and sunny, but cold. Things get interesting for me right now. All right. Excellent. Good. I'm ready for a little bit of funkiness. Yeah. No answers. Only sometimes I want your guys' answers. Really, it's just outward processing. Right now, Wes is just laying on the ground, taking a nap. Went for a long walk this morning to the dog park. He saw some of his buddies. He's all happy. He's all tired. And we're good. Thanks for liking my shirt. It's warm. It is a good color. It's a good color. Yeah, imagine getting answers. We'll never get answers. Yeah, you can see my dog. Let me find a good picture of him. I could just take a picture of him right now, but it's not a very good picture. I'll show him every once in a while. I'll find a good picture of him. My phone is just filled with pictures of Wes. This is him at Christmas. This is a cute one. This is my dog. I don't really ever dress him up in like bandanas, but he just looked cute and it was Christmas. He's a cutie. He's a good dog. I gotta find another one. He always wants to be outside. He always wants to be running. Always wants to be in the snow or the water. This is a funny one. This is him. That's exactly where he's laying right now, but that's an old picture. But he's laying in that exact spot right now. It's like his spot. He has like a purview of every single room in the apartment from there. He's a very good dog. I gotta hold on. Last thing. I gotta show you the pictures of the pictures that I took when he was a puppy. They're like my favorite pictures ever. I had like a photo shoot with Wes when he was a puppy. I gotta find him. All right, this is the first one. Look how cute that dog is. Come on. Look how cute he is. Hold on. I got some even better ones. Look at this dog. Look how cute that puppy is. He's just so handsome. Yeah, he's a little nugget. He's the best. He's such a good dog. Legitimately, he's like the best dog. But that's Wes. Very photogenic. All right, everyone, we're gonna get reading because I really want to read. I just keep thinking about this. It's funny because I'm doing the other Lord of the Rings stuff, and I'm thinking about. I feel like all my time is now spent thinking about Lord of the Rings or Pride and Prejudice. This is how my life compares to both of those. That's all I think about now. So and it's interesting too because I was really just talking about Lord of the Rings so much that when I started reading Pride and Prejudice, I was like, I think it's gonna be good, but I don't think I'm gonna think about it that much. But I find myself thinking about this book not way more than I should, but just so much. Like the interpersonal relationships are so layered and so deep, and it's just an excellent, excellent book. I will say I'm a little nervous to jump into Wuthering Heights, because I know that the mood is a huge shift of mood from this book that's hilarious to Wuthering Heights, which will we laugh at all in Wuthering Heights? That's the question. I know it is a really great problem to have. We're not going to laugh once in Wuthering Heights? Gosh, oh no. I'm a little nervous now. All right, well, we're going to go from having a great time to everyone's going to be depressed. So, there's dogs in Wuthering Heights. So, that's okay, we're good. Trying to get your Zoomer kids into Austin's and your Austin obsession with you. I love that. I'll cry. Oh no. Your homeschool mom feel awful because you were supposed to read The Hobbit last semester and you skipped it. Interesting. How come? Are you homeschooling? What are your kids? Boys, girls, mix? You laugh at the ridiculousness of Wuthering Heights? Okay, interesting. Dark, grim, and obsessive. Full of dread. Oh gosh. How many of you, hold on, let's do a poll. How many of you are going to continue on? I'm sure you guys are just big Austen fans, but are you going to continue on in the book club? Because I don't know, for the first few books that we do, I'm sure there's people that's going to be attracted to, like, I'm just talking about one specific book. And we'll get back to Austen. We'll probably do, I don't know what other Austen we'll do this year, but we will definitely do at least one or two other Austens this year. I really want to do a Dickens. I think I'm going to do a Dickens. Potentially, I don't know what Dickens I'm going to do. But I feel like if we do Wuthering Heights, we might lose some of you guys because you guys might not want. But you guys got to come back for other books because we're going to do some Austen. We're going to do some Dickens. It's just going to be a book club. I was thinking about Great Expectations, but I read Great Expectations once, so I would like to do one where I haven't. But I don't really remember Great Expectations or how it ended. I remember there was a gravedigger in it. Girl 12 years old. Schedule got too crazy. Ooh, I feel like a 12-year-old girl might love The Hobbit. Really, I don't know anything about The Hobbit, but from the movie, I feel like it'd be a great one. I'm a big fan of letting people read it on their own, even though I don't really do that in my own life because I tell my friends I need to read it with you. Nice. Be here for every book. I love this. Ooh, the Iliad this semester. Love that. And maybe I'll do Persuasion or Emma. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, maybe we'll do both of those. Persuasion and then Emma. And then save some of the other ones for following years. I feel like any book that, even if you guys hate a book, like I'm sure some of you guys don't like Wuthering Heights, but I feel like it would still be fun to read it in a group like this. And we have a bunch of people and we're just kind of like hanging out talking about it. Maybe you'll get like new insight from it, and maybe you'll hate it even more. But we'll see. We'll see. Hey, new subscriber came for Tolkien, stayed for Jane Austen. Wuthering Heights. You hate Wuthering Heights. It's not a romance, first of all. It's very toxic relationships and horribleness. Ugh, okay, yikes. Well, it's a shorter. I mean, I think it's about the same size as Pride and Prejudice. So we'll probably finish that. I'm hoping in a month. I want that to be like the February read, and then maybe we'll do a Dickens, and then maybe we'll do Jane Eyre after that. I haven't given up on Moby Dick yet. I still want to do that, but maybe like right after those. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Emma would be great for someone who's just finished Pride and Prejudice. So maybe we'll do Emma. Emma will be this year. We'll do Emma this year. Anne Elliot is your favorite Austen heroine. Interesting. Afraid you'll dip out for any Bronte and Dickens. Not a big fan of Bronte or Dickens. Interesting. Who are you guys? Who are authors that you guys don't like? Yeah, we'll see. I've read one or two Dickens. Don't know a ton. My dad likes some Dickens, but Wuthering Heights is a great book, but depressing. Prefer Jane for dark but more enjoyable read. Interesting. Bronte, Hardy, Peter Hoch. Interesting. Dickens. I'm not a big Faulkner fan. I tried to read Faulkner like 4 or 5 times and cannot stand them. Interesting. Lana, you don't like the Bronte sisters. All right. Hardy's more depressing than the Brontes? Interesting. I think I'm curious to get into Dickens because I think it is going to have a good comedic air. So I want to laugh when I read a good book, you know. Bronte too swoony. I actually don't mind a good swoony book. Give me a good flirtation and a good swoon. Amen. Gaskell's North and South. Never read. Sir Walter Scott. All right, if Northanger Abbey is hilarious, maybe we'll add that to the list too. Brontes don't like Austen. Is there like a discrepancy between fandom? Are there Brontes and Austenians, and they just don't like each other? That's a good description about Faulkner. I know a lot of men like Faulkner. I don't understand why. I don't think it's great writing. But maybe I just got to revisit it. Maybe we'll do a Faulkner eventually. I don't want to that soon, but maybe we'll do it in a year or so. Jack London, haven't read that much of Jack London. I mean, I think we read The Call of the Wild in school, in like middle school or something like that. That's Jack London. Is that Jack London? I think that is. So maybe we'll give it another shot. Jack London's fun. Did the Brontes live the same time as Austen? Or were they a little after? They dissed Jane Austen? How could you diss Jane Austen? Terrible. You can't stand Jack London. Interesting. My least favorite is Ayn Rand. I think Ayn Rand has nothing good to say. Yeah, I was actually talking to my mom about reading Anne of Green Gables because she loves it. So I was like, maybe I'll do that in the next year. Wait, you don't like Flannery O'Connor? Flannery O'Connor is one of my favorites. I love Flannery O'Connor. I just saw Flannery O from You, Carol. And I don't know if that's Flannery O'Connor. Okay, good. Flannery O'Connor is amazing. Flannery is such a disturbing writer, but she's so good. Maybe we'll do some of her short stories. Maybe in between some novels, we'll do a short story here or there. It'd be kind of fun to just sit and read a short story. There's some good ones out there. Men reading Anne of Green Gables is a huge green flag. I was thinking I wanted to Little Women too, but I remember I tried to read Little Women probably a decade or so ago, and I was very snooty on writing, and it was just too charming of a book. It was just too you know what I mean, like hoity-toity, which I probably wouldn't mind right now, but it was just too like, I don't know the word for it, you know? A good man is hard to find. Yeah. It's a weird short story. The sequels decline as you go. Yeah, I've heard Anne of Green Gables and all the sequels are great. I felt like a fanfic when they married. I didn't know they married. Oh my gosh. I love The Little Prince. Read that. I would read that again on this, but we'll make sure that everyone knows it's my second time read because I don't remember a lot of it. The movie was great. That was a really great movie. Yeah, I'll definitely do some PG pretty in one of these years. Well, we have a good list going. I mean, classics. We could probably do this forever and not plumb the depth of all the good classics out there. Father Brown mysteries. I haven't even heard of those. Man, there's maybe I don't know what we'll do, but we should like plan out the books months in advance. Like maybe I will. So Brideshead Revisited is one of the only classics that I really read. I had to read that for a class. When I was in grad school, I took a class and I wanted to do an independent study with a teacher. And it was just a literature independent study. And she just assigned me 10 books that I had to read for the course of the semester. And I just had to write a long response on each of those books. And Brideshead Revisited was one because I came up with a list. She's like, I want you to do this. Come up with a list of 10 books that you want to read. And then we'll just read those. And I gave her my 10 and she's like, I don't like this 10. And so she gave me what her 10 was. And I was like, okay, I'll just read your 10. And one of my favorite books of all time was on that list, which is The Poisonwood Bible, which is one of my favorite books ever. I love that book so much. I want to do Frankenstein too. I feel like Frankenstein would be fun. We'll do Agatha Christie, Terry. HHGTTG. What is that? Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, I'll do that eventually. We'll get there. I feel like we'll every once in a while we'll touch on some non classics that are like kind of cusp classics or like cult classics or whatever. Frankenstein is not fun. We'll definitely read some not fun books. I'm okay with reading not fun books. Jane Eyre is a perfect balance between Wuthering Heights and Pride and Prejudice. Please read Persuasion. Dracula would be kind of fun pairing with Frankenstein. Maybe we'll have like a summer of beasts and monsters. We'll read Dracula, Frankenstein. What else? What else could we add onto that list? Who's a monster character? I mean, Wickham. We'll reread Pride and Prejudice for Wickham. Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, that'd be good. Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah, it'd be kind of fun. It'd be really fun. Oh, hell yeah. Exactly. Everyone liked the stream. There's only 17 people who have liked the stream, and there's 72 people here. Do not read Gulliver's Travels. I've actually heard that. Someone told me that Gulliver's Travels is really boring. We'll do Robinson Crusoe too. Heathcliff is also a monster. Where's Heathcliff from? Is that Bronte? There's a lot of good books out there, guys. Seawolf. Interesting. Heathcliff is Wuthering Heights. Okay. I want to do like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I want to do all these. There's so many good classics that we can read. I'm very excited for this channel. No, I have records of all these because I could just go back into this chat. Honestly, I do that so often. Whenever I'm like, sometimes I'm like making a video, and I'm like, what? There's something that people said on chat, and I have a record of all this because I could just go back and watch the live stream, and just pull up the chat. And then just reread this. Three Musketeers will be on there. Count of Monte Cristo will be on there. I mean, there's books that will take us like 6 or 7 months to read. Like if we read the Count of Monte Cristo, I think that will take us so long, but that'll be fun. Like Anna Karenina is another one. How many of you guys have read Anna Karenina? That's one of the only classics that I've really, really read and that I was obsessed with. That to me is the most romantic book that I've ever read in my life. But that might be controversial. From a man's perspective, I just love that. I remember there was one chapter in there that I just kept underlining and it was so good. But I don't remember a lot of the characters. I just remember Kitty and Levin. That's really all I remember. So I don't really remember the rest of the plot of the novel. I just remember there was one really great chapter. So we'll read that too. We'll read Vanity Fair. That's another long one. Got a bunch. We got a bunch of stuff on the list. A lot of people love the Russians. I loved French authors because I love the Count of Monte Cristo. Don't remember it that much though. But I couldn't get into Russians that much, except when I read Anna Karenina. That was the only thing that I liked. And I tried some others. I tried some Dostoevsky and never really read anything. I tried like the first chapter, I think, of The Idiot and then Brothers Karamazov like a decade ago, and I was like, no, I want to do something else. Evelina. Interesting. Okay. I just saw a video on TikTok the other day that someone was like, The Count of Monte Cristo is the greatest revenge story of all time. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not about revenge. Russian authors. Life sucks. Drink vodka. I feel like French authors just know how to tell a good story, you know? All right, guys, we're going to get to reading because I really want to read. Everyone like the stream, and then we'll read. Yeah, it's not revenge. It's justice. Exactly. You understand. That's why when I saw the movie before I read the book. The movie was so great. And then I read the book and I was like, this sucks. But it doesn't. But it does. Because it doesn't feel as satisfying because he doesn't get everything that he wants in the end. He dishes out some justice. Who's Evelina? Who wrote Evelina? Is that Austin? The miniseries of the Count of Monte Cristo. Didn't a new Count of Monte Cristo just come out? A French-made movie? All right, guys. It's time. It is time. Chapter 37 of Pride and Prejudice. Burnley. Okay, interesting. We've got a lot of books we're adding to this list. Ivan Bunin, Dark Alleys, short stories. I definitely want to do some short stories in between some novels. So we'll do it. All right, chapter 37. The two gentlemen left Rosings the next morning. That's interesting to me. Sorry, first sentence, we need to stop and talk about this because I'm shocked that they stayed. I thought that Darcy was going to give the letter and be like, I'm out. See ya. But I feel like that's almost inviting her to come back and talk to him about this stuff. I'm sure he's in his room being like, I hope she comes and calls. I hope she comes and calls. I hope she comes and calls. And then when he's like has a sleepless night hoping that she'll come and call, they leave the next morning. And Mr. Collins, having been in waiting near the lodges to make them his parting obeisance, was able to bring home the pleasing intelligence of their appearing in very good health, in as tolerable spirits as could be expected, after the melancholy scene so lately gone through at Rosings. To Rosings he then hastened to console Lady Catherine and her daughter, and on his return brought back with great satisfaction a message from her ladyship, importing that she felt herself so dull as to make her very desirous of having them all to dine with her. Why is What's the melancholy scene? The melancholy scene so lately gone through at Rosings? Is that just like all the drama that's happening? Just the goodbye. Okay. Oh, just that I left. All right. Interesting. Elizabeth could not see Lady Catherine without recollecting that had she chosen it, she might by this time have been presented to her as her future niece. Whew. Nor could she think without a smile of what her ladyship's indignation would have been. What would she have said? How would she have behaved? Were questions which she amused herself. Their first subject was the diminution of the Rosings party. Words today are going to evade me. I assure you, I feel it exceedingly, said Lady Catherine. I believe nobody feels the loss of friends as so much as I do. But I am particularly attached to these young men, and know them to be so much attached to me. They were excessively sorry to go, but so they always are. The dear colonel rallied his spirits tolerably till just at last, but Darcy seemed to feel it most acutely, more, I think, than last year. His attachment to Rosings certainly increases. She's a bimbo. Come on. Woman, open up your eyes. He doesn't want to stay for you. Mr. Collins had a compliment and an allusion to throw in here, which were kindly smiled on by the mother and the daughter. Lady Catherine observed after dinner that Miss Bennet seemed out of her spirits, and immediately accounting for it herself by supposing that she did not like to go home again so soon, she added, "But if that is the case, you must write to your mother to beg that you may stay a little longer. Mrs. Collins will be very glad of your company, I am sure." "I am much obliged to your ladyship for your kind invitation," replied Elizabeth, "but it is not in my power to accept it. I must be in town next Saturday." Got the fire engine going off right now. Sorry, this is so annoying. I always get so distracted whenever it goes off. I'm going to wait. It's going to stop right now, and then it's going to go for another round in a second. Yeah, you've barely missed anything. We just started chapter 37. For someone so well of social awareness, she is so unaware socially, Lady Catherine. Like, for someone who toots her own horn like that, she doesn't really understand certain things. She says you're starting to start the reading. Exactly. Why? At that rate, you'll have been here only 6 weeks. I expected you to stay 2 months. I told Mrs. Collins so before you came. There can be no occasion for your going so soon. Mrs. Bennet could certainly spare you for another fortnight. But my father cannot. He wrote last week to hurry my return. Mr. Bennet sitting there ripping his hair out because he cannot stand everyone else in his family except for Elizabeth. Which is kind of sad because, like, Elizabeth's almost his friend rather than daughter. You know? Oh, your father, of course, may spare you if your mother can. Daughters are never so much consequence to a father. And if you will stay another month complete, it will be in my power to take one of you as far as London, for I am going there early in July, for a week. And as Dawson does not object to the barouche box, there will be a very good room for one of you. And indeed, if the weather should happen to be cool, I should not object to taking you both, as you are neither of you large. You are all kindness, madam, but I believe we must abide by our original plan. Lady Catherine seemed resigned. Mrs. Collins, you must send a servant with them. You know I always speak my mind, and I cannot bear the idea of 2 young women traveling post by themselves. It is highly improper. You must contrive to send somebody. I have the greatest dislike in the world to that sort of thing. Young women should always be properly guarded and attended, according to their situation in life. When my niece Georgiana went to Ramsgate last summer, I made a point of her having 2 men servants go with her. Miss Darcy, the daughter of Mr. Darcy, of Pemberley, and Lady Anne could not have appeared with propriety in a different manner. I am excessively attentive to all those things. You must send John with the young ladies, Mrs. Collins. I am glad it occurred to me to mention it, for it would really be discreditable to you to let them go alone. My uncle is to send a servant for us. Lady Catherine's a rich version of Mrs. Bennet. It's actually kind of valid. She really is very condescending, in not the good way that Jane Austen writes condescending. Well, I don't think that I think she is kind of socially aware, or she's not, maybe not necessarily socially aware. She is, to me, like the center of gossip. And she just knows certain things that are going on, but doesn't know how to interpret those things. She misinterprets them all over the place. Oh, your uncle. He keeps a manservant, does he? I am very glad to have somebody who thinks of those things. Where shall you change horses? Oh, Bromley, of course. If you mention my name at the bell, you will be attended to. Lady Catherine had many other questions asked respecting their journey, and as she did not answer them all herself, attention was necessary, which Elizabeth believed to be lucky for her. Or, with a mind so occupied, she might have forgotten where she was. Reflection must be reserved for solitary hours. Whenever she was alone, she gave way to it as the greatest relief. And not a day went by without a solitary walk in which she might indulge in all the delight of unpleasant recollections. Yikes. She's really beating herself up about this. Mr. Darcy's letter she was in a fair way of knowing by heart. She studied every sentence. Her feelings toward its writer were at times widely different. When she remembered the style of his address, she was still full of indignation. But when she considered how unjustly she had condemned and upbraided him, her anger was turned against herself. And his disappointed feelings became the object of compassion. His attachment excited gratitude, his general character respect. But she could not approve him, nor could she for a moment repent her refusal, or feel the slightest inclination ever to see him again. She's in denial right now. She's in denial. Nor could she for a moment repent her refusal or feel the slightest inclination ever to see him again. In her own past behavior, there was a constant source of vexation and regret, and in the unhappy defects of her family, a subject of yet heavier chagrin. They were hopeless of remedy. Her father contented with laughing at them, and would never exert himself to restrain the wild giddiness of his youngest daughters. And her mother, with manners so far from right herself, was entirely insensible of the evil. Elizabeth had frequently... That's interesting that she knows that. Elizabeth sees through that, obviously because she's really smart, but love that. Elizabeth had frequently united with Jane in an endeavor to check the imprudence of Catherine and Lydia, but while they were supported by their mother's indulgence, what chance could there be of improvement? Catherine, weak-spirited, irritable, and completely under Lydia's guidance, had been always affronted by their advice, and Lydia, self-willed and careless, could scarcely give them a hearing. They were indignant, idle, and vain. While there was an officer in Meryton, they would flirt with him, and while Meryton was within a walk of Longbourn, they would be going there forever. She has a very good grasp on her family. This is, I mean, like we've kind of always known that, but this is probably the first little sign that we have it. And this is going to be an absurd interpretation of this, I think. This is why I kind of feel like Elizabeth has harbored feelings deep, keep going deep, like 100 more times down in her heart. And she just kind of like suppresses that, but doesn't even know that she's suppressing that. Because her feelings are quickly changed toward him because of the letter. And now she seems to like have that bubbling forth, but she's still suppressing it. She's like, oh no, I don't want to see him. She's in denial about being in denial. Exactly. For sure. She doesn't love him yet. She knows she effed up. I don't necessarily agree with that. I know that she knows that she's effed up right here. Like she's like having a lot of self remorse and self pity. But my reading of that to some extent is that she is starting to understand the feelings that she has toward Darcy. Because they're thawing out, and yes, they're thawing out because he essentially like talked about how he's justified in what he did. And she's like, oh, I was an idiot. So it's turning to like self-hate in her sense, which isn't great. But I still think that she has something deep down there. Deep down there. I think that's maybe a misreading, but I kind of like that. I kind of like misreading it a little bit. I think she kind of is working on herself, but I think that she also, I think like that little thing just keeps popping up every so often. Like it just like is like a little spurt of a volcano, and it's just like a tiny little hole is popping up, and you're like, oh, whoa, what was that? Suppress that. Anyway, let's keep reading. Yeah, and like that. Honestly, that is the reading of it. That she's just kind of self-reflecting here. But I think there is some kind of feelings. But let's keep reading. Anxiety on Jane's behalf was another prevailing concern, and Mr. Darcy's explanation, by restoring Bingley to all her former good opinion, heightened the sense of what Jane had lost. His affection was proved to be sincere, and his conduct cleared of all blame, unless any could attach the implicitness of his confidence in his friend. How grievous then was the thought of that, of a situation so desirable in every respect, so replete with advantage, so promising for happiness, Jane had been deprived by the folly and indecorum of her own family. Interesting. So she's understanding this. She's not placing the blame on Darcy anymore. She's placing the blame on her family. Which is kind of right, but it's not. There's like more. It's more than that. When to these recollections was added the development of Wickham's character, it may be easily believed that the happy spirits which had seldom been depressed before were now so much affected as to make it almost impossible for her to appear tolerably cheerful. Tolerably is really her favorite word here. Man. Their engagements at Rosings were as frequent during the last week of her stay as they had been at first. The very last evening was spent there, and her ladyship again inquired minutely into the particulars of their journey, gave them directions as to the best method of packing, and was so urgent on the necessity of placing gowns in the only right way that Maria thought herself obliged on her return to undo all the work of the morning, to unpack her trunk afresh. When they parted, Lady Catherine, with great condescension, wished them a good journey, and invited them to come to Hunsford again next year. And Miss de Burgh exerted herself so far as to curtsy and hold out her hand to both. She exerted herself. Like, a curtsy is so difficult for her because she's so frail and doesn't eat. So Lizzie's still just going through. I feel like the next few chapters are essentially just going to be Lizzie going through self-hatred and a realization that she wasn't right and that she needs to kind of change her ways. This woman would give flying advice to a seagull. That's actually a great description of her. Yes, she would. She is very annoying. I don't like people like this in real life. But she's funny. She's good comedic relief. Nothing is beneath her notice. Nothing goes over her head. She catches it. Chapter 38. Chapter 38 is a short one. On Saturday morning, Elizabeth and Mr. Collins met for breakfast a few minutes before the others appeared, and he took the opportunity of paying the party's civilities, which he deemed indispensably necessary. "I know not, Miss Elizabeth," said he, "whether Mrs. Collins has yet expressed her sense of your kindness in coming to us, but I am very certain you will not leave the house without receiving her thanks for it. The favor of your company has been much felt, I assure you." That is really sweet. I still hate Collins, but that's actually a really interesting line that he says. Whether Mrs. Collins has yet expressed her sense of your kindness in coming to us, but I am very certain you will not leave the house without receiving her thanks for it. Now, that's a little annoying because he's like, my wife is going to thank you like I thank other people for their hospitality. And she's going to come and thank you for yours. But there's a point to it where I almost think that Collins and Charlotte are doing really well in their marriage. And they're actually having a lot of discussions about this kind of stuff. Because I'm sure like maybe when they go to bed, they have like a little debrief. And Charlotte's like, I really love having Elizabeth here. And they're just kind of chatting about that. Because he says the favor of your company has been much felt, I assure you. That's a knowledge of his wife that's actually really sweet. Unless he's just speaking out of his butt and that's not really like, he's not really understanding this situation. But I feel like they're at least having good communication. But let me finish this because I might completely change my mind. He's lucky he landed with a sensible woman for sure. "We know how little there is to tempt anyone to our humble abode. Our plain manner of living, our small rooms and few domestics, and the little we see of the world, must make Hunsford extremely dull to a young lady like yourself. But I hope you will believe us grateful for the condescension, and that we have done everything in our power to prevent your spending your time unpleasantly." I really like this. He's being very polite, but like he's being polite in a way that almost reverses what he said before. Maybe there's like a little bit, I don't know, maybe there's some passive aggression here. But yeah, he's doing what he's really, really good at, which is being polite. But his politeness is like opposite of what he would say before. Like his politeness before was still kind of like rubbing her face in her poverty. And now he's not doing that. He's like, maybe there is a bit of passive aggression here. Elizabeth was eager with her thanks and assurances of happiness. She had spent 6 weeks with great enjoyment, and the pleasure of being with Charlotte and the kind of attention she had received must make her feel the obliged. Mr. Collins was gratified, and with more smiling solemnity replied, "It gives me the greatest pleasure to hear that you have passed your time not disagreeably. We have certainly done our best, and most fortunately having it in our power to introduce you to very superior society." All right, well, it's going downhill a little bit. "And from our connection with Rosings, the frequent means of varying the humble home scene, I think we may flatter ourselves that your Hunsford visit cannot have been entirely irksome. Our situation with regard to Lady Catherine's family is indeed the sort of extraordinary advantage and blessing which few can boast. You see on what a footing we are. You see how continually we are engaged there. In truth, I must acknowledge that, with all the disadvantages of this humble parsonage, I should not think anyone abiding in it an object of compassion, while they are sharers of our intimacy at Rosings." This guy just has his lips glued to the butt of Lady Catherine. Words were insufficient for elevation of his feelings, and he was obliged to walk about the room, while Elizabeth tried to unite civility and truths in a few short sentences. "You may, in fact, carry a very favorable report of us into Hertfordshire, my dear cousin. I flatter myself, at least, that you will be able to do so. Lady Catherine's great attentions to Mrs. Collins you have been a daily witness of, and altogether I trust it does not appear that your friend has drawn an unfortunate. But on this point, it will be as well to be silent." Huh. He's kind of like humble bragging there, but it's with like self-deprecation too. Does Collins know how poorly people speak of him? "Altogether, I trust it does not appear that your friend has drawn an unfortunate," I'm saying an unfortunate partner. How does he know he would be an unfortunate partner? Or maybe he's just elevating himself so much. Yeah, every time Collins has flattery, everyone take a shot. Everyone's going to be hammered by the end of this. Yeah, maybe it is just cluelessness. He's a groveling toady. "Only let me assure you, my dear Elizabeth, that I can from my heart most cordially wish you equal felicity in marriage. My dear Charlotte and I have but one mind and one way of thinking." Okay, he's clueless. He is absolutely clueless. Yeah, that's actually a really great point, Fitz. That's such a fascinating point, because I feel like that's reframing every part of this chapter, in that he's trying to speak so highly of this marriage that he's in, that he's like, you missed out. He's like sitting there in his chair. He's like, "You missed out on the full package. I could have given you all this. We're at Rosings every day." Yeah. "Never attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity." Wasn't that like a TikTok or a Vine or something like that? What's up, Veronica? Better late than never. Yeah, he's just stupid. But at the same point, I do think that there is some malice in what he is, in like just the deeper parts of his personality. Because there is like, some people are just stupid and like they say stupid things, but there is a different breed of person who are stupid and they have like a little bit of a nastiness about them that it just shows more of their nastiness. Like, so it is stupidity that's coming out, and that they can't hold their tongue. But it's also their malice coming out. I think that, yeah, it might just be flat out stupidity here, but it might legitimately be that he's trying to make Elizabeth feel jealous. And he doesn't even know that. And that's the thing, because I think that the majority of what he's saying, he doesn't even realize what he's saying. So that's his stupidity. But I also think that because he's so stupid and because he was showed a bit of meanness in that one streak, I kind of interpret a lot of what he does as like without his even realizing it, he's being passive aggressive here and like presenting to Elizabeth that she really missed out. I don't think he's doing this overtly. Yeah, he's not consciously trying to make Elizabeth jealous. So yeah, malice is probably the wrong word. He is, what's the word for being unknowably malicious? Just stupid, maybe that's the word. Smug is a good word. Smug is probably the word. Yeah, I do feel like Collins is trying to show Elizabeth that she made mistakes to some extent. Whether he knows it or not, he might know it, and if he does know it, that's a little bit more malicious. Schadenfreude? Ignoramus. Yeah, those are good words. Schadenfreude. I love that. We get in German here? It shows his lack of reflection and thoughts. Or let me finish this paragraph. My dear Charlotte and I have but one mind and one way of thinking. There is in everything a most remarkable resemblance of character and ideas between us. We seem to have been designed for each other. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, stupid. He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. But by him saying that, he's also kind of thanking Lizzie. Does he actually believe this? That's the question. He's such an interesting character to try to interpret. Does he actually believe that him and Charlotte are made for each other? I think so. And if that's the case, then he's essentially thanking Elizabeth for rejecting him in this. But also like showing her what she's missing out on. He's a very conflicted character, which again is probably chalked up to the fact that he's just an idiot and he just says whatever he thinks. Yeah, Charlotte's smart. That's what Charlotte definitely wants him to think. So Charlotte's really doing well here. Does he believe that he and Charlotte are a match made in heaven? Totally, because she is working very hard to make him feel that way. Well, I don't know if she's... I agree, because Charlotte's brilliant, and she definitely is doing that. But he's an easy target, but at the same point, I don't think she's working very hard to do that, because I don't think it takes a lot of hard work to do that. Like, you just praise him every so often, and then he's like, oh, this woman is the love of my life. Because if he was an inch smarter, he'd be like, why does she keep sending me out into the garden? Does she actually not want to see me? You know, there's like there's things that are just obvious that he's just missing because he's stupid. Yeah, it does take hard work in not saying what she really thinks of him. Valid. He does think ladies are that clever, yeah. Or he doesn't think. Yeah, which is really sad because he has such a demeaning opinion of women. And here his wife is like the smartest woman, one of the smartest women in this novel. Sorry, Wes is crawling under the bed so he can take a nap. Yeah, that's why him ignoring that advice is wild. He just like thinks he's better than everyone else. Honestly, yeah, that's a great point. Charlotte's his wife, therefore he loves her. In his tiny mind, it's that simple. I wish it was that simple just in real life. Like, not that I wish I was like Collins, but sometimes I wish my mind was just simple. Like ignorance is bliss. All right, let's finish this chapter. This is a shorter chapter. Elizabeth could safely say that it was a great happiness that that was the case. And with equal sincerity could add that she firmly believed and rejoiced in his domestic comforts. She was not sorry, however, to have the recital of them interrupted by the entrance of the lady from whom they sprung. Poor Charlotte. Oh, it was melancholy to leave her to such society, but she had chosen it with her eyes open. And though evidently regretting that her visitors were to go, she did not seem to ask for compassion. Her home and her housekeeping, her parish and her poultry, and all their dependent concerns had not yet lost their charms. That's great. Good for you, Charlotte. At length, the chase arrived. Is it? Wait. Number 1, chase. Number 2, chassis. Is it chassis? Have I been saying this wrong the entire time? I just had a revelation. Is it chassis? I think it's chassis. Is it number 1, chase? Number 2, chassis? Chase. Okay, chase. Okay, interesting. 1. So I've been saying it right. What is chassis? What is that word? Why have I heard that before? Collins has CPTSD. What is that? Chase. Okay. Piece of a car power system. Thank you. The chassis. Words just sometimes evade me. Complex PTSD. Collins has complex PTSD from what? Child post-traumatic stress disorder. Interesting. Why do you argue that? Oh, his evil father. That's so sad. That's actually a really valid point. Makes you have a little sympathy for him. When did it mention that again? His father was a mean man, right? Doesn't Mr. Bennett say that? We have no idea how his father treated him. We only know he was illiterate. He had to work hard to please his father. To please his father, yeah. Before the introduction, yeah, I remember that. I think that was the Bennetts talking. He was illiterate and described as a miser. What is a miser in that context? I don't know if I'll be able to find that. Mean meant more likely stingy. Interesting. Greedy, a penny pincher. A miser's a penny pincher. Interesting. That'd be interesting to talk about that. To see, I maybe we'll talk about that as the novel goes on. Maybe there's like another line or something like that that will help me understand that more, or maybe come up with a theory. Yeah, so he's being overly like unstingy. He's trying to make up for it. At length the chaise arrived. The trunks were fastened on, the parcels placed within, and it was pronounced to be ready. After an affectionate parting between the friends, Elizabeth was attended to the carriage by Mr. Collins. And as they walked down to the garden, he was commissioning her with his best respects to all her family, not forgetting his thanks for the kindness he had received at Longbourn in the winter, and his compliments to Mr. and Mrs. Gardiner, though unknown. Then he handed her in. Maria followed, and the door was on the point of being closed when he suddenly reminded them, with some consternation, that they had hitherto forgotten to leave any message for the Lady of Rosings. Gosh. But, he added, you will of course wish to have your humble respects delivered to them, with your grateful thanks for the kindness for their kindness to you while you have been here. Elizabeth made no objection. The door was then allowed to be shut, and the carriage drove off. Good gracious, cried Maria after a few minutes' silence. It seems but a day or two since we first came, and yet how many things have happened. A great many indeed, said her companion with a sigh. We have dined 9 times at Rosings, besides drinking tea there twice. How much I shall have to tell. Elizabeth privately added, and how much I shall have to conceal. Their journey was performed without much conversation. Now, okay. Let's pause on this for a second. She's about to go see Jane again. What does she tell Jane? That's you're kind of in a quandary right here. I mean, she's a sister, so I think she's going to essentially tell her everything. But do you leave anything out? Like, do you not? Because it's essentially, it's not Jane's fault, obviously, because Jane is trying to, like, I think she's honestly, what we talked about last stream, where she's like doing this as a trauma response. But now it's like, do you tell her that she didn't show enough affection? I don't think so. And she can't really talk about how Darcy's the one that broke him up, because now Jane will hate Darcy and have a negative opinion of Darcy. Yeah. She's honest, but does want to protect her sister. Well, I kind of agree that Jane couldn't hate anyone, but at the same point, I think if she could hate anybody, it would be for that. Which, I don't know if she would hate Darcy for that. She might hate her own mother for that. She doesn't seem to have the greatest relationship with her mom. Yeah, maybe she won't tell about Bingley. She's only going to tell about, Wickham. That could be honestly really interesting. Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of there with you, Nemo. That's why I think that she'd probably be more angry at her own mother than about Darcy. But I think she would potentially be very regretting of the situation. And it makes me curious, like, are her and Bingley going to see each other in London after this? Like, how are they going to reconcile that? Well, I know she loves her mom more than Darcy, but I think that she would probably blame her mom more than she would of Darcy. And about Bingley, is it better to tell her or to shut up? Which is such an interesting question. Yeah, she can't really talk about Georgiana, too. But she can probably throw some shade on Wickham. But not the full thing. What to conceal? That is a fascinating question that she's asking right here. And she doesn't, it's not even a question of like how much she will have to conceal, which, I mean, it is. But it's not like the amount. It's like I think she almost feels like she has to conceal everything. She's like, oh, all this information that was given me, how much am I going to have to conceal? It's like all of it. Their journey was performed without much conversation or any alarm. Within 4 hours of their leaving Hunsford, they reached Mr. Gardiner's house, where they were to remain a few days. Jane looked well, and Elizabeth had little opportunity of studying her spirits amidst the various engagements which the kindness of her aunt had reserved for them. But Jane was to go home with her, and at Longbourn there would be leisure enough for observation. It was not without an effort, meanwhile, that she could wait even for Longbourn before she told her sister of Mr. Darcy's proposals. To know that she had the power of revealing what would so exceedingly astonish Jane, and must at the same time so highly gratify whatever of her own vanity she had not been able to reason away. Interesting. Was such a temptation to openness as nothing could have conquered but the state of indecision in which she remained, and as to the extent of what she should communicate, and her fear, if she once entered on the subject, of being hurried into repeating something of Bingley, which might only grieve her sister farther. She's in a weird position right now. What does she communicate to Jane? All right, chapter 39. Yeah, she does trust Jane, but she's also such a good sister. She's really looking for she wants to see Jane well again. And so I think I don't know. I feel like it's a tough quandary, because you're like, I think this is almost like the ripping off the Band-Aid versus the slowly peeling off the Band-Aid. By ripping off the Band-Aid, you run the risk of really hurting Jane even more and potentially having her spiral down even to a greater degree. And I think the scary thing is, Elizabeth is maybe thinking, does she ever come back from something like that? If Elizabeth tells Jane the truth right here, Jane could slip into a depression that is almost like unconsolable. She could end up hating her family for this, which again, she is incapable of hate, but someone who's incapable of hate like this, almost sometimes, this is going to sound stupid, but is almost capable of the most hate. Because it's like to some extent, it's human nature to hate something or what someone does. Like, it's hard to just think well of someone all the time. And Jane's bubble would be popped, I think, here. And she might go into like a completely different mood shift of like, my family did this to me. They removed my happiness. And she might, and it wouldn't be, I don't know if it would be like outward hating them every single time, but she would come to resent them. And deep in her heart, I think she would resent them. And it would play out in, I think, small little ways. And then potentially even big ways. I'm with you too. If Jane were ever to hit the point of no return on her, she'd be unrecognizable to her family. I for sure agree with that. Yeah, Lizzie's learning discernment. Good for her. Good for her. Yeah, and agreed. The cause isn't just her family, but I think in Jane's eyes, she would potentially see that as the case. I think she would blame herself to some extent for it too. But then I think even what we were saying before is she would understand herself more in this, because I think she would at first blame herself, and she would go, I didn't show enough of my feelings. I didn't reciprocate the feelings enough or well enough for Bingley to really realize that I liked him. And then all of a sudden, I think she would start realizing, wait, the reason that I'm not showing my feelings is because I can't, because my family are a bunch of idiots. And I couldn't do it because, so I think the blame would get shifted around a lot. It would potentially first be on Darcy, and then it would go to herself, and then it would go potentially to her family as like the ultimate. And again, hate is a strong word, but like, you know, the lowercase hate, resent. She would deeply dislike, intensely dislike. What is that word that Tolkien uses all the time? I dislike with some intensity or something. Yeah, I think there would be a lot of self-blame, but at some point, I don't know if she's is she that self-blaming? I don't think she's blaming herself in the situation that she's in now. She's almost like putting the blame properly on Carolyn and Mrs. Hurst. Yeah, loathe, resent. It's just an interesting case study. It's like, I think it's fun to just read Jane in a different light. It's fun reading all your guys' interpretations. Because I definitely agree with you guys on a lot. I think she would blame herself most. And I think she'd probably resign herself to misery. Yeah, I'm with you, Carol. Before she would think ill of anybody else. But for any point in a character, there is like a snapping point where you can do something completely out of character that is like, how long can she put the blame on herself? She could do that, but then she would cave in and like die. If she didn't, I think she could snap and end up becoming really bitter and like jilted. So Elizabeth has to deal with this very, very carefully. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. Chapter 39. Chapter 39 is a little, actually not that long of a chapter. Longer. All right, 39. It was the second week in May in which the three young ladies set out together from Gracechurch Street for the town of Blank in Hertfordshire. And as they drew near the appointed inn where Mr. Bennet's carriage was to meet them, they quickly perceived, in token of the coachman's punctuality, both Kitty and Lydia looking out of a dining room upstairs. These two girls had been above an hour in the place. These two girls had been above an hour in the place, happily employed in visiting an opposite milliner, watching the sentinel on guard, and dressing a salad and cucumber. After welcoming their sisters, they triumphantly displayed a table set out with such cold meat as an inn larder usually affords, exclaiming, "Is not this nice? Is not this an agreeable surprise? And we mean to treat you all," added Lydia. "But you must lend us money, for we have just spent ours at the shop out there." Then showing her purchases, "Look here, I have bought this bonnet. I do not think it is very pretty, but I thought I might as well buy it as not. I shall put it into pieces as soon as I get home and see if I can make it up any better." Wow. So she is for sure a shopping addict. I don't think these sisters came to meet them. I think they came to shop. They just wanted to come to London. And when her sisters abused it as ugly, she added with perfect unconcern, "Oh, but there were 2 or 3 much uglier in the shop. And when I have bought some prettier colored satin to trim it with, fresh, I think it will be very tolerable. Besides, it will not much signify what one wears this summer, after the Shire have left Merton. And they are going in a fortnight." Oh, interesting. So the company is leaving. Huh. "Are they indeed?" cried Elizabeth with greatest satisfaction. "They are going to be encamped near Brighton. And I do so want Papa to take us all out there for the summer. It would be such a delicious scheme. And I dare say would hardly cost anything at all. Mama would like to go too, of all things. Only think what a miserable summer else we shall have." What is going on at the time in England? Is this a typical thing where like military companies would just kind of bop around from place to place? Oh, the Napoleonic Wars. Interesting. Fascinating. That's really fascinating, actually. I wanted to do a deep dive on the Napoleonic Wars now. I love this. A good book that kind of meshes the history with a good story. Napoleon is just tearing it up over there. All right. Interesting. Okay. Poor them, Napoleon. Man. Yes, thought Elizabeth, that would be a delightful scheme indeed. And completely due for us at once. Good heavens. Brightened and a whole campful of soldiers, to us who have been overset already by one poor regiment of militia, and the monthly balls of Meryton. Now I have got some news for you, said Lydia, as they sat down to the table. What do you think? It is excellent news, capital news, and about a certain person that we all like. Jane and Elizabeth looked at each other, and the waiter was told that he need not stay. Lydia laughed and said, "Aye, that is just like your formality and discretion. You thought the waiter must not hear, as if he cared. I dare say he often hears worse things said than I am going to say, but he is an ugly fellow. I am glad he is gone. I never saw such a long chin in my life. Wow! Gosh! But now for my news. It is about dear Wickham. Too good for the waiter, is it not? There is no danger of Wickham's marrying Mary King. There's for you. She is gone down to her uncle at Liverpool, gone to stay. Wickham is safe. And Mary King is safe, added Elizabeth, safe from connection imprudent as to fortune. She's a great fool for going away if she liked him. But I hope there's no strong attachment on either side, said Jane. Aw. Jane is just out here being the sweetest person ever. Like, I don't think, at this point in the novel, Lizzie has not really talked about what Wickham's done. So, I mean, she's still kind of naive in her understanding of everything that Wickham is. But still, she's just thinking the best of people. She's like, I hope they're not too heartbroken on either side. I'm sure there is not on his. I will answer for it. He never cared 3 straws about her. Who could about such a nasty little freckled thing? Wow. Dang. Okay, Lydia, just chill out for a bit. Elizabeth was shocked to think that, however incapable of such coarseness of expression herself, the coarseness of the sentiment was little other than her own breast had formerly harbored and fancied liberal. As soon as all had ate and the elder ones paid, the carriage was ordered, and after some contrivance, the whole party, with all their boxes, work bags, and parcels, an unwelcome addition of Kitty's and Lydia's purchases, were seated in it. How nicely we are crammed in, cried Lydia. I am very glad I bought my bonnet, if it is only for the fun of having another bandbox. Well, now let us be quite comfortable and snug, and talk and laugh all the way home. And in the first place, let us hear what has happened to you all since you went away. Have you seen any pleasant men? Have you had any flirting? I was in great hopes that one of you would have gotten a husband before you came back. Jane will be quite an old maid soon, I declare. She is almost 23. Oh my gosh. She's 23. Oh, she's going to be an old maid. Gosh. And poor Jane hearing this. Lord, how ashamed I should be of not being married before 23. My Aunt Phillips wants you so to get husbands, you can't think. She says Lizzie had better take in Mr. Collins, but I do not think there would have been any fun in it. Lord, how I should like to be married before any of you. And then I would chaperone you to all the balls. Dear me, we had such a good piece of fun the other day at Colonel Forrester's. Kitty and me were to spend the day there, and Mrs. Forrester promised to have a little dance in the evening. And Mrs. Forrester and me are such friends. And so she asked the 2 Harringtons to come, but Harriet was ill, and so Pen was forced to come by herself. And then what do you think we did? We dressed up chamberlains in women's clothes on purpose to pass for a lady. Only think what fun. Not a soul knew of it, but Colonel and Mrs. Forster, and Kitty and me, except my aunt, for we were forced to borrow one of her gowns, and you cannot imagine how well he looked. When Denny and Wickham and Pratt and 2 or 3 more of the men came in, they did not know him in the least. Lord, how I laughed. And so did Mrs. Forster. I thought I should have died. And that made the men suspect something. And they soon found out what was the matter. Gosh, they're having a little drag show. The sisters are just awful. Lydia is terrible. For someone who is like, I don't know. First, she's not socially aware, but she is. She's likes flirting, and she's very social, but she's not socially aware. That's it. It kind of does seem like something wrong. Like they shouldn't be doing that this time. Yeah, I was going to ask, who is Chamberlain? Chamberlain. Lydia doesn't have any saving grace. Yeah, we had a cross-dressing party while you were gone. Sorry you missed it. With such kind of histories of their parties and good jokes, did Lydia, assisted by Kitty's hints and additions, endeavor to amuse her companions all the way to Longbourn. Elizabeth listened as little as she could, but there was no escaping the frequent mention of Wickham's name. Their reception at home was most kind. Mrs. Bennet rejoiced to see Jane in undiminished beauty, and more than once during dinner did Mr. Bennet voluntarily say voluntarily to Elizabeth, "I am glad you are come back, Lizzie." Their party in the dining room was large, for almost all the Lucases came to meet Maria and hear the news, and various were the subjects which occupied them. Lady Lucas was inquiring of Maria across the table, after the welfare and poultry of her eldest daughter. Mrs. Bennet was doubly engaged, and on one hand collecting an account of the present fashions from Jane, who sat some way below her, and on the other retailing them to all the younger Miss Lucases. And Lydia, in a voice rather louder than any other person's, was enumerating the various pleasures in the morning to anybody who would hear her. "Oh, Mary," she said. Mary is the last person she should talk to about this. Mary's like, "Shut up, I just want to play the piano. I wish you had gone with us, for we had such fun as we went along. Kitty and me drew up all the blinds and pretended there was nobody in the coach. And I should have gone so all the way, if Kitty had not been sick. And when we got to the George, I do think we behaved very handsomely, for we treated the other 3 with the nicest cold luncheon in the world. And if you would have gone, we would have treated you too. And then when we came away, it was such fun. I never thought we should have got into the coach. I was ready to die of laughter. And then we were all so merry all the way home. We talked and laughed so loud that anybody might have heard us 10 miles off." That's so annoying. Yeah, treated them with their own money, exactly. To this, Mary very gravely replied, "Far be it from me, dear sister, to depreciate such pleasures. They would doubtless be congenial with the generality of female minds, but I confess they would have no charms for me. I should infinitely prefer a book." Yes, Mary. Amen. Why is Mary not my favorite character? In the afternoon, Lydia was urgent with the rest of the girls to walk to Meryton to see... Oh, hold on, sorry. I missed a paragraph. But of this answer, Lydia heard not a word. She seldom listened to anybody for more than half a minute, and never attended to Mary at all. Gosh. In the afternoon, Lydia was urgent with the rest of the girls to walk to Meryton, to see how everybody went on. But Elizabeth steadily opposed the scheme. It should not be said that the Miss Bennet could not be at home half a day before they were in pursuit of the officers. There was another reason, too, for her opposition. She dreaded seeing Wickham again, and was resolved to avoid it as long as possible. The comfort to her of the regiment's approaching removal was indeed beyond expression. In a fortnight they were to go, and once gone, she hoped there could be nothing more to plague her on this account, or on his account. She had not been many hours at home before she found that the Brighton scheme, of which Lydia had given them a hint at the inn, was under frequent discussion between her parents. Elizabeth saw directly that her father had not the smallest intention of yielding, but his answers were at the same time so vague and unequivocal that her mother, though often disheartened, had never yet despaired of succeeding at last. Wait, what is this? The Brighton scheme? What is the Brighton scheme? What is the Brighton? Following the militia to Brighton. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, because I forgot the militia's going to Brighton. Okay, interesting. So the dad's like, no, is there a suggestion that everyone go, that the dad is going to take them, or that he's just going to let them go? I don't think that would happen, but maybe. Lydia wants them all to go. Lydia is just the worst. Lydia is so annoying. All right, chapter 40. Chapter 40. Keep reading to see how that goes. Okay, interesting. Elizabeth's impatience to acquaint Jane with what had happened could no longer be overcome. Oh, okay. Are we going to get them discussing this? And at length, resolving to suppress every particular in which her sister was concerned, and preparing her to be surprised, she related to herself the next morning the chief of the scene between Mr. Darcy and herself. Miss Bennet's astonishment was soon lessened by the strong sisterly partiality which made any admiration of Elizabeth appear perfectly natural. And all surprise was shortly lost in other feelings. She was sorry that Mr. Darcy should have delivered his sentiment in a manner so little suited to recommend them, but still more was she grieved for the unhappiness which her sister's refusal might have given him. His being so sure of succeeding was wrong, she said, and certainly ought not to have appeared. But consider how much it must increase to his disappointment. Or how much it must increase his disappointment. Wait. Mr. Darcy should have delivered... She was very sorry that Mr. Darcy should have delivered his sentiments in a manner so little suited to recommend them. But still more was she grieved for the unhappiness which her sister's refusal must have given him. Jane is just so sweet. His being so sure of succeeding was wrong, she said, and certainly ought not to have appeared. But consider how much it must increase his disappointment. She is just thinking about other people all the time. Always thinking of others, which is a great quality, but like it's like too selfless. Indeed, replied Elizabeth, I am heartily sorry for him, but he has other feelings which will probably soon drive away his regard for me. You do not blame me, however, for refusing him? Blame you? Oh no. But you blame me for having spoken so warmly of Wickham? No, I do not know that you were wrong I do not know that you were wrong in saying what you did, but you will know it when I have told you what happened the very next day. Ooh, give me a little juicy gossip right now. She then spoke of the letter, repeating the whole of its contents as far as they concerned George Wickham. Okay, so only George Wickham, as far as they concerned George Wickham. What a stroke was this for poor Jane, who would willingly have gone through the world without believing that so much wickedness existed in the whole race of mankind as was collected in one individual. Nor was Darcy's vindication, though grateful to her feelings, capable of consoling her for such a discovery. Most earnestly did she labor to prove the probability of error, and to seek a clear one without involving the other. This will not do, said Elizabeth. You will never be able to make both of them good for anything. Take your choice, but you must be satisfied with only one. There is but such a quality of merit between them, such enough to make one good sort of man. And of late it has been shifting about pretty much. For my part, I am inclined to believe it all Mr. Darcy's, but you shall do as you choose. Dang. It was some time, however, before a smile could be extorted from Jane. I do not know when I have been more shocked, she said. Wickham's so very bad. It is almost past belief. And poor Mr. Darcy, dear Lizzie, only consider what he must have suffered, such a disappointment, and with the knowledge of your ill opinion too, and having to relate such things of his sister. It is really too distressing. I am sure you must feel it so. Oh, no, my regret and compassion are all done away by seeing you so full of both. I know you will do him such an ample justice that I am growing every moment more unconcerned and indifferent. Your profusion makes me saving. And if you lament over him any much longer, my heart will be light as a feather. I like it. They can kind of like tease each other a little bit. Yeah, so they do talk about Georgiana, which is really interesting. I know. It is so fascinating. Yeah, if there's anybody that you can trust with information, it is Jane. You know Jane's going to be lock and key under this kind of stuff because she doesn't want to offend anybody. Poor Wickham. There is such an expression of his goodness in his countenance, such an openness and gentleness in his manner. There certainly was some great mismanagement in the education of those two young men. One has got all the goodness and the other all the appearance of it. That's Elizabeth saying that, guys. Interesting. That's a great line. One has got all the goodness and the other all the appearance of it. I never thought Mr. Darcy so deficient in the appearance of it as you used to do. Oh, Omersine, 50 pounds. Wow. Thank you so much. A smile should be extorted from John as well. I'm smiling the whole entire way through this book. This is great. One has got all the goodness and the other all the appearance of it. All that is gold does not glitter. Legitimately. It just makes it so interesting to me because the euro, yeah, that's right, euro. Euro, pound, pretty much the same thing to me. This is so fascinating to me. It just keeps me thinking that she has deep feelings down there. Yeah, maybe she didn't drop names for the Georgiana thing. She probably dropped some details. I mean, she had like a few days to think about what she was going to say, so I think she got it right, but we just don't know. In my head, she kind of told her everything that the letter said about Wickham. But if that's the case, no, she couldn't have read it there because Jane would have been like, wait, you're skipping the whole first part. Omar Seen, thank you so much for the 52. I appreciate it. That means so much. Helps me helps me just keep reading these books and just having fun with you guys. It's great. Also, everyone like the stream. Come on. All right, let's finish this chapter. Actually, no, we have a little ways to go. Excellent. I love a longer chapter. And yet, I'm meant to be uncommonly clever in taking so decided a dislike to him, without any reason. It is such a spur to one's genius, such an opening for wit to have a dislike of that kind. One may be continually abusive without saying anything just, but one cannot always be laughing at a man without now and then stumbling on something witty. Lizzie, when you first read that letter, I am sure you could not treat the matter as you do now. Indeed, I could not. I was uncomfortable enough. I was very uncomfortable. I may say unhappy. And with no one to speak to of what I felt, no Jane to comfort me and say that I had not been so very weak and vain and nonsensical as I knew I had. Oh, how I wanted you. How unfortunate that you should have used such very strong expressions in speaking of Wickham to Mr. Darcy, for now they do appear wholly undeserved. Certainly, but the misfortune of speaking with bitterness is a most natural consequence of the prejudices I had been encouraging. There is one point on which I want your advice. I want to be told whether I ought or not to make our acquaintance and general understanding. I want to be told whether I ought or ought not to make our acquaintance and general understand Wickham's character. Our acquaintance. Our acquaintance? Warn the neighbors? Should we tell everyone? Interesting. Okay. I thought I was talking about one specific person. That's why I was a little confused. That's actually a fascinating question. That's actually a really interesting question. Do we put them on the registry or not? I mean, obviously, in this case, I think they should. But how do you do that in this society? And it is interesting how quickly, like, I'm not saying that everything that Darcy is saying is I don't think everything, well, maybe everything that Darcy's saying is perfectly legitimate and like 100% the truth. And I think that's kind of how how the painting is, or how the picture is painted right now. But there is a point of how quickly Lizzie has gone, maybe not how quickly, but how fast, how deeply she's gone from one extreme to the other. Like, generally the truth is like in between the two. Probably a bit more on Darcy's side, maybe like, but I don't know if everything that Darcy said is like the absolute and unequivocal truth. Or that's just his perception of it, you know? Like, I still get those feelings that some of the stuff in this book, like even the narrator's voice or even these letters, are just so filled with prejudice. That might be different. I don't know. But it's a really interesting question for how you communicate about this. Yeah, Lizzie is a very black and white thinker, for sure. Yeah, honestly, my understanding is if you should tell Lydia or Mrs. Phillips or tell Mrs. Bennett, and it will get out. Like, you just tell someone who's a gossip and you just know that person will get it out. Yeah, I know. It's a tough question, though. It's irresponsible to not tell people, but at the same point, like, I think this is like more indicting against Wickham. Like, if this is for sure the absolute truth, but I do think that they have to wait till they have the absolute truth. Because it's dangerous. I don't think Um, what is the what is the what is like the case that you can have against a person if they besmirch your name? Like defamation? Yeah, defamation or slander. Like, I don't think that necessarily exists. I mean, libel's a bit more official, I think. I think defamation a bit more. Because I don't know if they know for sure the truth. They heard one side of they kind of have heard both sides of the story, but I think they need this confirmed up by a few more people. Yeah, libel's in writing, yeah. So I feel like I feel like it's still a little gossipy right now. Because I mean, you guys know me. I'm like 100% on Darcy's side. I think Darcy's like the greatest person ever. He's my favorite person ever. But could Darcy potentially be a little bit wrong about this? Because Darcy is very prideful. So like he thinks very highly of himself. So is he misinterpreting something here? I don't think so, but there could be that potential. And so Lizzie and Jane going and saying, hey, we need to spread the word about this is a little dangerous. And agreed with the Georgiana thing. I think Georgiana doesn't really want that, which is why Darcy's like, don't tell anybody, because he's protecting his sister's honor. And so I hope that they don't. I really hope that they don't do this now. I don't think that they will, but it's a really fascinating question because like if someone is like this, do you have a responsibility to tell other people or not? And it's interesting too, because the whole teenager's reputation thing is so strange. Like, it is sad that she is the one that has to essentially bear the brunt of this. I mean, this is just like society. So I guess it's just is like, you know, an inevitable fact of life. But it's brutal that she just has to bear the brunt of this. Like, she's the one that has to be in hiding. And they can't tell this kind of thing because everyone will look poorly on her and not poorly on him. Yeah, in theory, this is all theoretical, dude, which is why I think it's a little trickier. Might be strange in first world countries, but it's still a thing in the majority of the world. Yeah, for sure. But then, yeah, that's true. I mean, the gossip train would go after something like that. It just makes me wish that, like, you know, I don't wish that he did something illegal, but I do so that then, like, authorities could actually get involved in this. The whole town would already know about him if Miss King didn't have freckles. Like, we need to have a trial. Like, we need to sit down and we need to come up with a case here and talk about this. I wonder if, yeah, I'm just curious. Anyway, let's keep reading. Ms. Bennet paused a little and then replied, "Surely there can be no occasion for exposing him so dreadfully. What is your own opinion?" "That it ought not to be attempted. Mr. Darcy has not authorized me to make his communication public. On the contrary, every particular relative to his sister was meant to be kept as much as possible to myself, and if I endeavor to undeceive people as to the rest of his conduct, who will believe me? The general prejudice against Mr. Darcy is so violent that it would be the death of half the good people in Meryton to attempt to place him in an amiable light. I am not equal to it. Wickham will soon be gone, and therefore it will not signify to anybody here what he really is. Sometimes, hence, it will be all found out. And then we may laugh at their stupidity and not knowing it before. At present, I will say nothing about it. Honestly, it's a smart thing. Just let it run its course. Truth will out, right? You are quite right. To have his errors made public might ruin him forever. He is now perhaps sorry for what he has done and anxious to reestablish a character. We must not make him desperate. Wait, they're talking about Darcy here. No, they're talking about Wickham. But it could be talking about Darcy too, to be completely honest. That's an interesting paragraph. It is, it's talking about Wickham. But read this in light of Darcy. Like, think about Jane talking about Darcy in this light. To have his errors made public might ruin him forever, which probably wouldn't. He is now perhaps sorry for what he has done and anxious to reestablish a character. Not reestablish, but like, kind of in his own mind. We must not make him desperate, which I don't think he'd be desperate. But I think that's an interesting paragraph, thinking about that in light of Darcy too, because that's kind of what Darcy is experiencing. Because he probably feels like a failure and he's trying to reestablish himself. But yeah, they're talking about Wickham there. Jane, again, is just so kind. Like, always thinking the best of people. Another attack of empathy. Which I still just really love. Like, I would love to have this opinion of people more often. Don't make him desperate. She means don't make him lose hope. Interesting. Which she could be doing that. Like, obviously I think this is where her naivety, I think this is where her kindness and her goodness is frustrating, because he's not doing anything that really has any hint that he is actually trying to reestablish his character. He's just doing the same stuff that he's been doing. But it is lovely that Jane thinks that. It is like a breath of fresh air that someone thinks that in this novel. And and it's interesting. It's a fascinating point. Not everyone wants to be better. I actually think that he probably hates himself, Wickham, to some extent. But this is like an addiction almost. And he's like, his back's up against the wall a little bit. I don't feel bad at all for him. I hate him. But I don't think he is actively working on his rehabilitation. Like, I think he just loves doing this. And so I think now I read his character a bit more of like lavishing in the opportunity of being able to do this again and again. Which is why, again, I read him more like the actual malicious person. What makes me think that that Wickham hates himself? I think anybody who is kind of like that has some sense of self-loathing, that you kind of hate what you, unless he is a full-on psychopath, which he might be. He for sure could be. But I think really deep down, he has a conscience, and that conscience is poking and prodding him. He might have his conscience might be scabbed over, but still, I think that conscience is poking and prodding him, saying, you're an idiot, what you're doing is wrong. And so in the back of his head, I think he's going, shoot, I should stop doing this. But he's like, this is too fun. He's very good at pretending too, which is why I think like a character like this, who is just like so good in society, is a little scary to me, because he either in the back of his mind, he's dealing with a mental battle that he is so good at disguising, or the more obvious fact, he's not really dealing with a mental battle at all. I'm more generous to Wickham than Collins. I'm not. I think Wickham is by far the more evil person, but I think the psychology of Wickham is really interesting, and Collins to me is just a bimbo and kind of like an idiot I do think he's a bit mean, but Wickham is absolutely reprehensible. Like, the stuff that he's doing is terrible. And I guess I'm trying to make him a little less terrible in my head, because I just don't want to necessarily think of a person being this bad. But he's doing things that are pretty awful. And so I don't really read him as like as a character who is, yeah, I just think those are the two options that you have for him. Either that he totally has no feelings against what he's doing is wrong, which I actually think is the correct way to read Wickham as a character. Like, I think that's probably my read on him as a character. Or I think just the other option, which I don't really believe, but I think that there is an option for this, is that he has a little demon in the back of his head that he is, like, he has the good angel and the bad angel, and the bad one is just huge and the good one is tiny. But still, anybody with a conscience, he either has scabbed over his conscience so much that he doesn't really feel this anymore, or he actually does have a little poking and prodding in the back of his head that he's like, what you're doing is wrong, stop doing this. And he actually feels a little self-hatred and self-loathing. But that would be very, 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 very small right now for Wickham, because Wickham, all he does is he just cares about himself. So that's why I think he's more like, he's just done with that. Like, everything in the last few years of his life seemed like he is just only interested in himself. I'm Janing. Jane's the best character in this, guys. So I have no problem with that. All right, let's keep reading. The tumult of Elizabeth's mind was allayed by this conversation. She has got rid of 2 of the secrets which had weighed on her for a fortnight, and was certain of a willing listener in Jane, whenever she might wish to talk again of either. But there was still something lurking behind, of which prudence forbade the disclosure. She dared not relate the other half of Darcy's letter, nor explain to her sister how sincerely she had been valued by his friend. Here was knowledge in which no one could partake, and she was sensible that nothing less than a perfect understanding between the parties could justify her in throwing off this last encumbrance of mystery. And then she said, if that improbable event should ever take place, I shall merely be able to tell what Bingley may tell in a much more agreeable manner than himself. The liberty of communication cannot be mine till it has lost all its value. She was now, on being settled at home, at leisure to observe the real state of her sister's spirits. Jane was not happy. She still cherished a very tender affection for Bingley, having never even fancied herself in love before. Her regard had all the warmth of first attachment, and from her age and disposition, greater steadiness than first attachments often boast. And so fervently did she value his remembrance, and prefer him to every other man, that all her good sense and all her attentions to the feelings of her friends were requisite to check the indulgence of those regrets, which must have been injurious to her own health and their tranquillity. Well, Lizzie, said Mrs. Bennet one day, what is your opinion now of this sad business of Jane's? For my part, I am determined never to speak of it to anybody. I told my sister Phillips so the other day. But I cannot find out that Jane saw anything of him in London. Well, he is a very undeserving young man. I do not suppose there is the least chance in the world of her ever getting him now. There is no talk of his coming to Netherfield again this summer. Her mother just needs to quiet down a little bit. One second, I'm going to write a note. I told my sister I'd never talk about it. Let's talk about it. There's no talk of his coming to Netherfield again, and I have inquired of everybody too who is likely to know. I do not believe that he will ever live at Netherfield anymore. Oh well. It is just as he chooses. Nobody wants him to come. Though I always say that he used my daughter extremely ill. And if I was her, I would not have put up with it. Well, my comfort is, I am sure Jane will die of a broken heart, and then he will be very, very sorry for what he has done. But as Elizabeth could not receive comfort from any such expectation, she made no answer. Well, Lizzie, continued her mother soon afterwards, and so the Collinses live very comfortable, do they? Well, I only hope it will last. And what sort of table do they keep? Charlotte is an excellent manager, I dare say. If she is half as sharp as her mother, she is saving enough. But there is nothing extravagant in their housekeeping, I dare say. No, nothing at all. And a great deal of good management depend upon it. Yes. They will take care not to outrun their income. They will never be distressed for money. Well, much good may it do them. And so I suppose they often talk of having Longbourn when your father is dead. They look upon it quite as their own, I dare say, whenever that happens. It was a subject which they could not mention before me. No, it would have been strange if they had. But I make no doubt. They often talk of it between themselves. Well, if they can be easy with an estate that is not lawfully their own, so much the better. I should be ashamed of having one that was only entailed on me. This really makes me so curious for how Jane got to be the way that she is. And we've talked about this in other streams and in other videos, but just the fact that Jane is the way that she is, thinking so positively of people when both her father and her mother think this negatively of people, is astonishing. And it really proves the point that she is doing this a lot as a trauma response. And like, she's doing this as a reaction to her parents. She has observed that her parents are awful. And she just is doing this as a reaction. It's interesting. Like, how did Jane become the way that Jane is? Yeah, she looks to her aunt and uncle, but her aunt and uncle aren't really that naive. I think that she does have some sense from the Gardner side, for sure. Yeah, I guess nature and nurture is the discussion here, but there's nothing in Jane's, I guess, nature that would make her the way that she is. Or nurture. It has to just all be her nature. Well, she wants to be good and takes church to heart. Again, it is like, I guess this is true in just real life. Like sometimes when the parents are certain things, even as a kid, you kind of just start to react differently because you think differently of your parents. And I'm curious how involved the Gardners really were in their life. That makes me really curious to think about that. Like, were they around all the time? All the girls seem to really love the Gardners, so I'm guessing that the Gardners were kind of more like the parental figures really in their life, but probably not constant. Yeah, Nima, I'm kind of with you. I think that's exactly what it is. She saw her parents, even at a young age, and was like, I don't want anything to do with that. And then she just goes too far in the opposite direction. Her and Lizzie are almost the two sides of the same coin. In what way? That's a very good deep dive into the entail thing. The entail was made precisely to allow Mr. Bennet to marry Miss Gardner. I watched the Ellie Dashwood video on that. And that was really interesting. I haven't watched that many of Octavia Cox's, but I've seen one or two of hers. But I'm going to save most of those till after I finish my read. Both have a good sense, but Jane is to think too much of others while Lizzie too little. Honestly, yeah, it's valid. Jane feels a little, or Elizabeth feels a little bit like her parents, to be completely honest. She feels very similar to her dad, but like different. Like she was reactionary toward what her dad was. And then Kitty and Lydia to me are exactly like Mrs. Bennet. And then Mary's just an anomaly. Where did Mary come from? Glad you got alive, yeah. I think that's where we're going to end for the day. We're going to end with, I feel like that's a good ending. Ending on chapter 40. Next live read probably on Monday. I'm hoping on Monday. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. How many chapters are there in this book? I'm guessing 60 something. Ooh, that's a long one. There's a long chapter coming up. 60. Yeah, there's 60 chapters. 61. We're getting there. We're on page almost 200. We only have like 120, 130-ish pages left. Nandela, good timing. What's up? The live streams are always just random. Generally, at my time, works the best around like 10. So because I'm doing them during the weeks, during weekdays, and I will probably do some during weekends whenever I can. But I don't want to get too far ahead of the videos. Right now the live streams are like 10 chapters ahead of the videos, which is fine, but I got to catch up. I don't want to release more than 2 videos a day, and I have too much to talk about and say about this stuff. So maybe eventually, like in a day, I'll release like all the videos at once or something just to get them done with. But 20 chapters to go, like 2/3 of the way through the book, a little less than 2/3, I think. But Ellie has a video on the necessity of Mary. Mary. Poor Mary. Mary's hilarious, though. I kind of love her in the book. She's strange, but she's kind of hilarious. She's the female Collins. To some extent. To some extent. She's a little different from Collins, but they're kind of similar. All right, guys, I'm gonna hop off, get some work done. Enjoy your Fridays. The next Lord of the Rings chapter read will be Sunday, as usual. If you want, you can join then. That's the Scouring of the Shire. I'm pretty pumped for that chapter. It's gonna be good. You can only do Friday afternoons and weekends. I don't know if that's gonna work. Next stream for Pride and Prejudice will probably be Monday. There's a small potential. There's a really small potential. I don't know how small. Let's say 5% that I could do one this weekend, potentially on a Sunday night, but I'm not sure. We'll see. We'd miss a lot of our European contingent, and I don't want to miss our European contingent. But at the same point, we get a little bit of our Asian contingent. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe sometime this weekend. We'll see. I'm not positive, but I would love to read more of this because this is really fun. Deal, Nandela. All right, guys, have a good weekend. If I don't see you, if not, we'll definitely do a stream on Monday, potentially Sunday night. Maybe we'll do Sunday night into Monday morning. That'd be kind of fun. A little back-to-back stream. Right now it is 12:30 by me. I'm Eastern Standard Time. I live right outside of New York City. My other channel is First Timers. Just go to YouTube and type in First Timers, and that is where the Lord of the Rings stuff is. But I think this channel will one day outpace Lord of the Rings, but it'll get there one day. Oh, greetings from Poland. Love that. All right, people. I'll see you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, you can't send links. It's all right. You guys can look it up. It's not just on YouTube somewhere. Just type in First Timers, and it'll probably pop up. I did this exact series, but a little bit more in depth of Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, great book. So good. All right. Later, guys.
I'm 27 years old. I've no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden to my parents. And I'm frightened.